Thomas lives alone on a small island. The island is not large. You could walk around its edge in 20 minutes if you did not stop, but Thomas always stops. He stops to watch the waves. He stops to listen to the wind in the tall grass. He stops to look at the sky, which changes color every hour, from pale pink at dawn to deep blue at noon to warm gold at sunset. The island is his whole world, and it is enough. The lighthouse is old and tall and painted white with a red band around the top. It stands at the highest point of the island, looking out over the ocean. Thomas has kept it for many years. He tends the light each evening, making sure the great beam turns steadily through the darkness, warding ships away from the rocks. It is quiet work. It is good work. Thomas likes quiet work. He has always been a quiet man, the kind who finds more comfort in the sound of the sea than in the sound of voices. He came to the island with a ginger cat named Marmalade. Marmalade was already old when Thomas brought him to the island. He was a round, slow-moving cat with bright green eyes and a tail that curled at the end like a question mark. He had been a stray at the harbor, living on fish scraps, and when Thomas picked him up and carried him to the boat, Marmalade purred so loudly that Thomas could feel the vibration through his coat. That was 2 years ago. Now Marmalade sits on the windowsill every morning, watching the sun come up. He sleeps on Thomas's bed at night, curled against Thomas's legs. He follows Thomas on his walks, padding along the rocky path with the slow confidence of a creature who knows he is safe. They are companions, Thomas and Marmalade. They do not need anyone else, or so Thomas thought. It was on a Tuesday evening, just as the sun was sinking into the sea, that Marmalade came home with a cat. Thomas heard the scratching at the door and opened it. There was Marmalade, sitting on the step, and beside him was a small gray cat with white paws and wide, curious eyes. The gray cat looked up and meowed, a soft, hopeful sound, as if to say, "I have heard about this place, and I would like to stay." Thomas looked at Marmalade. Marmalade looked at Thomas. There was something calm and satisfied in the cat's expression, something that said, "This one is good." Thomas knelt down and held out his hand, and the gray cat touched its nose to his fingers. Then it walked inside, as if it had lived there all along. Thomas set out a bowl of milk. The gray cat drank, then curled up on the armchair by the fire. Marmalade jumped up beside it, and the two sat together, grooming each other. Thomas made himself a cup of tea and sat down with his book. It felt right. The next evening, Marmalade came home with a black cat, sleek, with golden eyes that gleamed in the lamplight. It moved like a shadow and sat on the doorstep waiting to be invited in. Thomas invited it in. He set out another bowl of milk. The black cat found a spot on the rug near the fire and settled there, its tail wrapped around its paws. The evening after that, Marmalade brought a tabby, a big striped tabby with a loud, rumbling purr, then a small white cat with a crooked ear and a gentle face, then a Siamese with blue eyes and a quiet voice. Each evening, Thomas opened the door, and there was Marmalade with a new friend. Each evening, Thomas set out a bowl of milk and made a place by the fire. Thomas did not ask where Marmalade found them. Some things do not need explaining. The cats came because the lighthouse was warm. They came because the fire crackled and the milk was sweet, and the man who lived there had a gentle voice. They came because Marmalade told them to, in whatever way cats tell each other things, with a look or a slow blink in the moonlight. By Friday, there were 7 cats. 7 cats and a kitten. The kitten was tiny and calico, with patches of orange and black and white, and it had been tucked inside the tabby's coat when they arrived. The kitten was too small to jump or climb, so it stayed in a box by the fire, wrapped in a soft blanket, sleeping and mewing. Thomas fed it warm milk from a tiny dish, holding it in his palm, and the kitten lapped at it with a tongue no bigger than a flower petal. The lighthouse changed. It had always been quiet, but now it was the kind of quiet full of small sounds, the purring of cats, the soft patting of paws on the stairs, the rustle of a cat turning in its sleep, the distant sound of the ocean against the rocks below. Thomas would sit in his chair reading, and Marmalade would be on the arm of the chair, the gray cat on the armchair beside him, the black cat on the rug, and the others scattered around the room. The fire would crackle, the lamp would glow, the light above would turn and turn, sending its beam into the dark. Thomas had never felt less alone. He did not think of himself as someone who had been lonely. He liked his quiet life. But now, sitting in the warm glow with 7 cats and a kitten sleeping around him, he understood the difference between being alone and being at peace. He had been at peace for a long time, but now he was at peace and surrounded by soft, warm, living things that trusted him. That was a kind of home he had not known he was missing. Each evening, after he tended the light, Thomas would sit in his chair, and the cats would gather. They came slowly, one by one, finding their places as if there were a ritual to it. The gray cat always took the armchair. The black cat always took the rug. The white cat liked the windowsill. The Siamese liked the top of the bookshelf, looking down with cool blue eyes. Marmalade always sat closest to Thomas. Thomas would read to them sometimes, out loud, in his quiet voice. He did not know if they understood. What mattered was the sound of a voice in the warm room, filling the spaces between the fire and the ocean, and the turning light above. On the last evening of the week, Thomas sat in his chair and looked around the room. The fire was low and soft. The cats were all asleep, each in their place, breathing in the slow, peaceful rhythm of cats. Marmalade was in his lap, his warm weight pressing down, his purr vibrating through Thomas's whole body. The kitten was in its box, a tiny bundle of calico fur, its small chest rising and falling like a wave on a calm shore. Thomas set his book down. He leaned his head back and closed his eyes. He could hear the ocean outside, a low, steady rhythm like breathing. He could hear the cats purring, a chorus of contentment. He could hear the wind in the grass on the hill, a soft, whispering sound, and above it all, the slow turning of the light, a sound so familiar that Thomas no longer heard it, the way you no longer hear your own heartbeat. He smiled. It was a small smile, the kind that comes not from a joke but from a deep knowing that everything is exactly as it should be. The lighthouse was warm, the cats were sleeping, the ocean was whispering, and Thomas, who had come to this island alone, was alone no more. He did not need a crowd. He needed this chair, these cats, this light, this sea, this island in the dark, with its circle of golden warmth. He needed to know that small, soft things could find their way to him, could cross the water in the dark, could follow a ginger cat up the rocky path and find a door that was always open. The fire crackled, the cats purred, the ocean whispered, the light turned, and Thomas sat in the middle of it all, warm and full and safe, and let sleep come the way the cats had come to him, slowly, gently, without any effort at all. He slept, and the lighthouse watched over him, and the sea held the island in its arms, and the cats kept watch through the night, their eyes glowing softly in the dark, keeping Thomas safe until morning.